I used to hear that Japanese and Korean models could be booked for quick hookups backstage. After my rebirth, I tried shouting at the star on the concert stage. Wife, did you call me? Before I could finish, my friend covered my mouth, panicking. Are you crazy? This is a global live stream. Aren't you afraid your powerful wife will ruin you? I just waved my hand, blowing kisses to the stage. Why fear her? The divorce cooling off period is already over. My friend stared, thinking he was hearing things. I leaned in and yelled again. I said Jiang Qingli and I are getting a divorce. The entire venue went dead silent. Even the music cut out. My friend poked my back frantically. I finally turned around only to see Jiang Qingli standing in the VIP box shadows, tears streaming down her face. In my past life, she was the top student I loved, but lost control with after drinking. Back then on the school bus, she insisted on giving herself to me. When we woke up, photos of us had leaked everywhere. Her grandfather adored me, forcing us into marriage. Feeling guilty that she could not be with her true love, I made a deal. She had to satisfy me before every date with him. She even did yoga and took supplements just to please me. But I never expected her first love would murder me in a fit of rage. When I opened my eyes again, she was straddling me. I pushed her off instantly. She glared at me. Shen Zhixun, what is your problem? I ignored her. I grabbed my phone to check the date, my mind going blank. Before I could process it, Jiang Qingli's phone rang. A familiar voice came through. Qingli, when are you picking me up? You promised we would go to the movies. Hearing Qi Chengzhou's voice, I knew exactly where I was. Hearing Qi Chengzhou, Jiang Qingli got up to get dressed, murmuring, I'm on my way. I finally snapped out of it and grabbed her wrist. Jiang Qingli, give me 20 minutes. I have something important to do. She shook off my hand. What do you want now? You made me fulfill my marital duties before seeing Chengzhou. I did what you wanted. Are you going back on your word? I took a deep breath and spoke clearly. No, Jiang Qingli. I want a divorce. She froze for a second, then sneered. Shen Zhixun. What kind of game is this? No games, I replied. This time I mean it. I pulled out my phone, quickly typed a message to my lawyer, and turned the screen to her. I wanted her to see the cold, hard text on the screen. I want a divorce. Draft the agreement immediately. Jiang Qingli stared at the screen, her eyes narrowing. She was confused. After all, I had chased her since kindergarten. I had always been too clumsy to get her attention properly. Back then, I only knew how to annoy her, to get noticed making faces during her speeches or popping her bicycle tires. Suddenly, a lawyer in a sharp suit walked in, placing a document on the table. Miss Jiang, Mr. Shen here is the divorce agreement. Please sign here. Without hesitating, I put my signature down. Her heart skipped a beat. She grabbed the paper, scanning the terms. Asset division, stock distribution. Everything was crystal clear. When she spoke, her voice actually trembled. Are you serious, Shen Zhixun? I turned around with a mocking smile. More serious than anything. Why, CEO Jiang, are you regretting this? Regretting? She laughed like she had heard a joke. Shen Zhixun, this marriage has been nothing but a prison to me. Every single second with you was pure torture, I said casually. Then sign it. What are you waiting for? Her face turned freezing cold. She grabbed the pen and signed her name with sharp, angry strokes, tearing slightly into the paper. She threw the papers in my face. Shen Zhixun, you better remember this. This is your choice. Do not regret it. The lawyer spoke up in a professional tone. According to the law, there is a 30-day cooling-off period before this becomes official. Either party can withdraw the request during this time. Jiang Qingli sneered, looking at me with pure disdain. Withdraw at any time, so that is your little game. She spoke with absolute certainty. Shen Zhixun, I see right through you. If we actually divorce in a month, I will chop my head off and let you use it as a soccer ball. I watched her leave and smiled. 3 days later, the Jiang family held their banquet. Normally, I avoided these, but this time I showed up. Their smiles instantly vanished. Jiang Qingli's parents glared at me, their voices dripping with annoyance. I thought you were divorcing our daughter. Why are you here? I clenched my fist, burying my anger deep down, and looked them all in the eye. Relax, I said coldly. I am not here for your family dinner. I have no interest in it. I only came to pay my respects to grandfather, light some incense, and leave. Left with no excuse to throw me out, they stepped aside. I walked to the shrine alone. After paying my respects, I placed the family heirloom grandfather gave me at my wedding onto his urn. Suddenly, Qi Chengzhou sneered and snatched the jade pendant. Before I could even react, he grabbed grandfather's ancestral tablet and lifted it high. He slammed it onto the floor, shattering the sandalwood into splinters. My blood ran cold. I lunged forward, grabbing his wrist as I roared, "Are you insane? Apologize to grandfather." He sneered, shaking off my grip, with an ugly mocking smirk on his face. Apologize? If that old busybody had not meddled, I would already be running the Jiang family. My voice shook with rage. Qi Chengzhou, he was the man Qingli respected most. If she knew what you did, she would realize she was blind. He did not care. Instead, his smile widened. Is that so? You worship this dead old man, yet Qingli does not love you one bit. Shen Zhixun, you are just as pathetic as your mother. Why do you not just jump off a building? She is probably waiting for you in heaven right now. I lost control. I raised my fist and punched him square in the face. His smile froze. He never expected me to hit him. His face turned pale with rage, and he lunged at me like a madman. He grabbed my tie, dragging me into a brawl, but he was pampered and weak, no match for me. After I slammed him onto the floor several times, he lost his mind. He grabbed grandfather's urn and smashed it right over my head. Blood poured from a deep gash on my forehead. The pain was blinding. The noise was so loud that everyone from the banquet came running. Seeing the shattered urn and the broken ancestral tablet on the floor, their expressions instantly turned to horror. Jiang Qingli's face was terrifyingly dark. Her eyes were ice cold. Shen Zhixun, what is your problem? This is a sacred shrine. Is this how you pay your respects? I was in too much pain to answer. But Qi Chengzhou immediately put on a victim act. Qingli, I just wanted to see his jade pendant, but he punched me out of nowhere. When I tried to defend myself, he threw grandfather's urn and tablet at me. I pushed him away to protect myself, and he fell. Hearing his blatant lies, the entire family glared at me as if they wanted to skin me alive. They started shouting, calling me a monster. Some even demanded they bring out the family whip to punish my behavior. Jiang Qingli stood there, her face unreadable. She waved her hand, and a servant brought out the oil-soaked family whip. She spoke coldly, first desecrating the shrine, second destroying grandfather's remains, third assaulting a guest. You will be punished for all of them. I looked up, horrified. Jiang Qingli, you didn't even ask what happened. Before I could finish, the first strike of the whip slashed across my back, stealing my breath. I shook with agony, but gritted my teeth. It was him, I gasped, but the second blow fell. The whip kept falling. By the final strike, my legs gave out and I collapsed. Before darkness took me, I heard Jiang Qingli's voice. Throw him outside. He is ruining the temple floor. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. My best friends were standing around me, their faces twisted in anger and frustration. Zhixun, are you seriously not divorcing her? She treats you like an absolute enemy. How can you keep living with a woman like that? I looked down at my hands. I gently touched the bandages on my arm. The stinging pain matched the ache in my shattered heart. I am done, I whispered. I already filed for divorce. The cooling-off period ends in 2 weeks. Soon I will be completely free. My friends cheered, grabbing my hands in excitement. Finally, you have finally woken up. You gave her everything, yet she chose that garbage. She is completely blind. Getting away from her is the best decision you have ever made. With your looks and charm, you can get anyone. Once you are officially single, I will introduce you to 100 gorgeous girls. You can choose whoever you want. They laughed and joked completely off guard. They were laughing so loud they did not hear the door fly open. I looked up and met Jiang Qingli's cold, mocking eyes. 100 beautiful women, she sneered. Shen Zhixun, are you really that desperate? I did not expect her here. I quickly masked my shock and matched her cold tone. What does it matter to you? I never stopped you from seeing Qi Chengzhou. So who I date or how many women I see is none of your business. She stared at me, clearly irritated. It is none of my business, she snapped. But wait until the papers are signed. I find you disgusting. I did not back down. I just smiled and nodded. Fair point. Feng makes sure to find me 7 beautiful women, 1 for each day of the week. That way, I will never get bored. Seeing how casually I dismissed her, her eyes flared with anger. She pulled out the asset division papers my lawyer had sent and slammed them onto my chest. Fine, she snarled. Then I will wait. Bring your 7 girls to the city hall. Show me how happy you are when you hand me my copy of the divorce papers. She stormed out without looking back. I picked up the papers and checked them over. Half of her massive empire was mine. Satisfied, I packed up the documents. Once my friends left, I called my lawyer and ordered him to liquidate everything immediately. The luxury cars, the mansions, the stocks. Seeing my bank balance rise, my mind felt at peace. With this fortune, my future was completely secure. The night before our divorce was finalized, my high school friends organized a reunion. Realizing it might be my last chance to see them, I decided to go. The moment I opened the door, the familiar sound of laughter filled the room. The class president stood up, beaming with excitement. Zhixun, you actually came? I smiled and nodded. But as soon as I sat down, everyone crowded around. Is it true you married Jiang Qingli? You two hated each other back in school. I forced a calm smile. We did get married, but we are actually getting a divorce right now. My words dropped like ice into boiling water. The room fell dead silent. My classmates exchanged glances, their smiles freezing. Finally, someone sighed. Why the sudden divorce? Didn't you love Jiang Qingli? Others might not have known, but I saw it. You only bickered with him to get his attention right. Everyone started chiming in. I saw it too. And me? I froze. I never imagined my deepest secret, hidden for years, was so obvious to them. Helplessly, I asked, how did you all know? That question opened the floodgates. Everyone started talking at once. Is that a joke? It was so obvious back in sophomore year some girls were jealous of Jiang Qingli and spread nasty rumors behind his back. But the moment you heard about it, you charged over and punched them. You terrified us. Even crazier, when your mom passed away, you completely shattered. Yet hearing Jiang Qingli needed blood after a car crash, you ran to the hospital and donated until you fainted. And remember, our graduation trip, Jiang Qingli's camera fell into the lake with his competition files inside. You dove in without a second thought. In the dead of winter, you ended up hospitalized with a fever for 2 weeks. If that is not love, who would jump? Hearing these buried memories dragged up, my chest tightened. The feelings I had forced myself to forget flashed before my eyes. I gripped my wine glass until my knuckles turned white, my throat tight. I couldn't say a word. I abruptly stood up, muttered an excuse, and headed to the restroom to wash my face. Returning, I went to open the door, but found Jiang Qingli standing there, staring with a heavy expression. His voice sounded deep and hollow. Is what they said true? My heart clenched, squeezed by an invisible hand. I forced a cold laugh. True or fake, does it even matter anymore? The one you love is Ji Chenzhou anyway, isn't it? Jiang Qingli frowned slightly. I did not wait for an answer, brushing past him. I was done with the reunion, and I wanted to leave. His voice was unreadable. Get in, we need to talk. Silently, I opened the back door. The car carried a faint scent of cedarwood, a fragrance I once loved. Now it stirred nothing in me. Though we shared the same tight space, an invisible wall stood between us. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Only when the familiar neighborhood came into view did Jiang Qingli finally speak. How long are you going to keep up this divorce act? His voice carried a rare, anxious edge. Suddenly a piercing ringtone cut off whatever I was about to say. Jiang Qingli pressed answer. Ji Chenzhou's frantic, panic-stricken voice blasted through the car speaker. Qingli, I am at Club Nightfall, room 1201. Save me. Hearing this, Jiang Qingli was already kicking the door open as he ran out. But what met our eyes was a romantic setup. In front of Ji Chenzhou stood a frantic woman in a long dress clutching a fruit knife that gleamed under the lights. Her voice was raw. Chenzhou Jiang Qingli is married. He can't give you a real commitment. I've chased you for years. Why won't you give me a chance? Agree today or we die together. Seeing Jiang Qingli at the door, Ji Chenzhou gasped as if finding a lifeline. Qingli, you are finally here. Gutang is forcing me to be her boyfriend. She is going to kill me. Save me. Jiang Qingli showed no fear, keeping his voice steady. Gutang, I know you like Chenzhou, but he does not love you. Forcing him like this will never make you happy. Gutang's eyes turned red. Her hand shook as she pointed the knife right at me standing behind him. Easy for you to say you married Shen Zhixun without loving him. If you can do it, spend your life with Shen Zhixun, why can't Chenzhou marry me? I always knew our marriage was his prison. But hearing that every second with me was pure torment tore a hole in my heart. The pain was unbearable. In a split second, without a second thought, Jiang Qingli lunged forward to shield Ji Chenzhou. I watched in absolute horror as the blade plunged deep into his abdomen, blood instantly blooming across the white shirt I had personally ironed. Ji Chenzhou let out a piercing, heart-wrenching scream. Jiang Qingli turned deathly pale, sweat beading on his forehead. I stood frozen in place, watching the afternoon light filter through the window, casting a faint glow on him. Those features that once haunted my dreams no longer stirred a single emotion in me. 12 years of obsession finally died. I whispered just 2 words, goodbye. Grabbing my final bags, I rushed to the airport. Before boarding, I blocked Jiang Qingli on every single platform. In this lifetime, I would never love him again. We were completely done. Meanwhile, he spent 2 weeks recovering in the hospital with Ji Chenzhou, visiting daily, tending to his every need. Yet he felt empty, as if a piece of him was missing. Since that day, I truly vanished from his life. At first, Jiang Qingli did not care, but as the days crawled by, he grew restless. He kept staring at the door, waiting for someone to walk in, but that person never came. Ji Chenzhou blew gently on a spoonful of chicken soup before holding it to his lips. Qingli, have some soup. I had my maid brew this black chicken soup. It is great for recovery. He swallowed it mechanically, his eyes still drifting anxiously back toward the door. Ji Chenzhou noticed, and his gentle smile began to fade. Qingli, what are you looking at? Or are you waiting for someone? They both knew who it was. Jiang Qingli quickly denied it, looking away, but Ji Chenzhou saw right through him. He bit his lip, playing the victim. Qingli, are you waiting for my brother to visit? Jiang Qingli frowned, snapping, "You are overthinking." Why would I wait for him? Ji Chenzhou lowered his eyes, his voice soft but laced with venom. "Really, I just find it strange. He knows you are hurt, yet has not visited once. Not even a call." Under the blanket, Jiang Qingli clenched his fist. Why, usually, if he so much as coughed, I would panic and rush to his side. Yet now, when he was nearly stabbed to death, I had only dropped off a box and vanished. Did I really not care anymore? The thought filled him with a strange irritation. Seeing his expression, Ji Chenzhou quickly offered comfort. "Don't be sad, Qingli. Maybe my brother is just too busy." Jiang Qingli sneered. "Busy with what?" A calculating look flashed in Ji Chenzhou's eyes. "Maybe he has already moved on. Didn't my brother say before that he wanted to find 7 beautiful women?" Jiang Qingli suddenly cut him off, his face dark as night. "Enough." Startled, Ji Chenzhou whimpered, "I am sorry, Qingli. I just did not want you to be fooled." Jiang Qingli took a deep breath, trying to suppress his growing irritation. He forced a faint smile. "I am sorry. Let's drop it." Yet he could not stop picturing my eyes from the day I left, so calm, so cold, as if we were total strangers. On the day he was discharged, Jiang Qingli seemed almost desperate. He rushed back to the villa, but the house was dead silent and pitch black. Frowning, he instinctively called out my name. No response. When he switched on the lights, he saw a thick layer of dust covering everything. Jiang Qingli walked into the living room, his eyes falling on the velvet box I had left on the coffee table. When he was discharged, his assistant had asked if he wanted to pack it. At first he had dismissed it, but eventually let the assistant pack it. Now, as if possessed, he picked up the box. My voice seemed to echo in his ears. "If you think I am joking, just open the gift." It felt incredibly light. He opened it slowly. Inside was a wedding ring and a divorce certificate. Jiang Qingli's pupils contracted in shock. He flipped it open to find the official red stamp dated the exact day he was stabbed. He stared blankly at the red booklet, his fingers trembling. I was not throwing a tantrum. I was not playing hard to get. I was truly leaving him. He stood in the entryway, clutching the certificate until his knuckles turned white. The red and gold document gleamed coldly under the light. That bright red official stamp looked like a brand declaring the end of our marriage. He turned it over and over, even wondering if I had forged it. But the embossed paper under his fingers was undeniably real. Could years of absolute devotion really be abandoned just like that? The question looped endlessly in his mind. Taking a deep breath, he finally grabbed his phone. He called his assistant, his voice sharp. "Find out where Shen Zhixun went. Flights, trains, hotel bookings, pull everything." His assistant, terrified by his frantic tone, rushed to check. But 30 minutes later, the update was devastating. Mr. Shen boarded an international flight a month ago. His destination is completely unknown. All his social media accounts are deleted and his phone and bank cards are shut down. Hearing this, Jiang Qingli froze. He gripped his phone so hard his knuckles turned white. Unable to accept this truth, he ran upstairs and threw open the bedroom door. Only cold emptiness met him. The bed was perfectly made, completely untouched. The closet was completely bare. All my clothes were gone. In the bathroom, my toiletries had vanished without a trace. Only a single lonely letter remained, sitting silently on the marble counter. The envelope bore only a few words to Jiang Qingli. His hands shook violently, sheer panic threatening to drown him. He tore it open to find just one brief sentence. "Jiang Qingli, this time I am really gone. Be happy, no anger, no lingering regrets. I simply walked out of his life." Just then, the door creaked and a sudden breeze blew the letter to the floor. Ji Chenzhou called out softly, "Qingli." He quietly scanned the room. Realizing downstairs that I was gone for good, he was ecstatic. Clinging to Jiang Qingli's arm, his voice practically sang with excitement. "Qingli, this room has the best light. Let's move in." Standing right here, Ji Chenzhou held his hand, sporting a bright smile and a voice trembling with impatience. He had waited so long for this day. Snapping back to reality, Jiang Qingli looked at his ecstatic face, gave a distracted nod, but his eyes instinctively wandered to the single armchair by the window. That used to be my favorite spot. I loved to curl up there with a book. Unaware of his distraction, Ji Chenzhou took his reply as a green light. That very afternoon, he moved in with his bags, eagerly ordering the maids to swap out the curtains and the furniture. That armchair was thrown out. He even replaced every single piece of tableware I had painstakingly chosen with his own style, sneering that my taste was far too outdated to suit someone like Qingli. Then he tossed my collection of antique porcelain plates straight into the trash. Staring at the shattered pieces, Jiang Qingli felt a sudden sharp sting in his chest. Once upon a time, I had cradled those very plates, looking at him with absolute warmth and saying, "Look at this pattern. Qingli, doesn't it look like the ivy on our high school's back wall?" Back then, his only reply was a cold, boring, but now he did not even have the chance to mock me. Late at night, Jiang Qingli sat alone in his study, swirling a glass of whiskey. The burning liquid scorched his throat, but failed to quiet the restless ache in his chest. The villa had come alive again since Ji Chenzhou moved in, yet he felt an empty void. He once thought he despised my clinginess and my presence, but now that I was truly gone, he realized he actually missed me. He missed the black coffee I used to leave on his desk every single morning, always at the perfect temperature. He missed the blanket I would quietly drape over his shoulders when he worked late, and even the stubborn defiance in my eyes when we argued. That stubborn look. The realization made his chest tighten. As for Ji Chenzhou, he was sweet, gentle, and eager to please. Yet now that they lived together, his kindness felt like a rehearsed performance, and his sweet talk like a calculated play for leverage. Just like right now. Standing by the window, he watched Chenzhou, smiling down in the garden, directing the gardener to plant his favorite agarwood trees. Right at his feet lay the trampled ruins of the red sandalwood flowers I had lovingly planted, now crushed and broken in the dirt. Sensing his gaze, Ji Chenzhou looked up. His face lit up with that same bright smile angled so perfectly it seemed rehearsed. Looking down at him, Jiang Qingli suddenly had a chilling realization he had never truly known the man standing in his garden. Not really. The next day, while organizing his study, Jiang Qingli accidentally nudged a stack of folders. An old, worn notebook slipped from the pile. He frowned, certain he had never owned anything like it, and bent down to pick it up. Opening to the very first page, he read, "Qingli skipped breakfast again today. I snuck a sandwich into his desk, hoping he won't realize it was from me." His breath hitched. This was my diary. I had left it behind. With trembling fingers, he turned the page. "Qingli sprained his ankle dancing today. I snuck some medicine into his locker, but he caught me. He asked if it was a sick joke, so I snapped back, 'Yeah, I hope you end up limping forever.' God, my heart was breaking. Mom is gone now. Dad brought that woman and Ji Chenzhou into our home." I hid in my room and sobbed, but all I could think of was you, Jiang Qingli. Why couldn't you just hold me? On our first anniversary, he left to see Ji Chenzhou again. I threw the cake away, then dug it out at midnight and ate the whole thing alone. It tasted so bitter. As he turned the pages, his vision blurred. The raw devotion poured into every line felt heavy, crushing. He never knew that in the shadows I had loved him so desperately, so hopelessly, while he trampled my heart into the dust. Slamming the book shut, Jiang Qingli grabbed his keys and bolted. He had to get to the airport, check every flight, scour the entire world just to find me. But the second he ran out into the courtyard, he froze. What could he possibly say to me now? "I am sorry, I regret everything." Would I ever believe him again? As the night wind swept through the empty yard, the crushing truth hit him. Some things once thrown away can never ever be brought back. Exhausted, he retreated to the study. Sinking into the leather chair by the window, he reopened my diary with trembling fingers. Outside, the night was pitch black. Under the soft glow of the desk lamp, my faded words seemed to travel through time, piercing straight into his soul. Page after page, he read through my deepest, most secret thoughts. Some guys in class were spreading lies about Qingli today, claiming he cheated on exams and bought his way into the student council. I lost my mind with anger and threw myself into a fight. The teacher caught us, and I had to stand in the hall all afternoon. But I don't regret it. Who are they to look down on him? He froze. He remembered that day. He had seen me standing there with a bruised face, sneering at me for fighting again, telling me to stop acting like a useless thug. And I had just kept my head down silent. I had taken the blame to protect him. His throat tightened as he kept reading. Qingli was in a terrible car accident. The blood bank ran out to donate blood. The nurse warned me it was too much, but he was dying, so I insisted they take every drop. I ended up passing out. When I woke, they said he was safe. Thank God. Jiang Qingli's grip tightened, the paper crumpling in his fist, making a sharp tearing sound. When he woke up after that crash, the doctor did mention a boy who had saved his life, but they said the donor wished to remain anonymous. It was me all along. I had nearly died for him, yet never even received a simple thank you. An invisible hand seemed to grip his chest, squeezing so hard he could barely breathe. He turned another page. My handwriting was becoming increasingly frantic and messy, as if my emotions were spinning completely out of control on Christmas Eve. It is Qingli's birthday. I spent a month making him a bamboo rabbit lantern. My fingers are covered in splinters, but I don't dare give it to him. He hates me. He will just throw it away. Jiang Qingli slammed the diary shut and closed his eyes. He remembered finding that exact lantern in the storage closet years later, tucked inside a dusty cardboard box. Thinking it was a toy left behind by a maid's child, he had casually told them to throw it out. Now he knew whose soul had been poured into it. He stood up, pacing slowly to the window. Outside, the city lights flickered like distant stars, but his vision slowly blurred with tears. To him, I had always been that annoying, spoiled, clingy nuisance, Shen Zhixun, but the version of me in these pages was fragile, cautious, and loved him to the absolute bone, yet I never even dared to utter the words, "I love you." Suddenly he remembered what our old classmates had said at that school reunion where everyone was gossiping. Back then I had simply denied it with a cold face and walked away without looking back. I had hidden my feelings because I knew that even if he found out, he wouldn't care. That realization made Jiang Qingli's heart ache violently. Outside, a shadow lurked. Through the narrow crack of the study door, Ji Chenzhou watched him clutching that diary, looking completely shattered. His manicured nails dug deep into his palms as a wave of dark jealousy washed over his face. How was he still haunting us when he's already gone? The next morning, Ji Chenzhou sipped his coffee, feigning a casual tone. "Qingli, I found some of my brother's old junk yesterday. Should I just throw it out?" Jiang Qingli froze mid-slice of his steak. "Leave it," he said coldly. "Don't touch any of his things." Ji Chenzhou's smile didn't falter, but he let out a heavy, deliberate sigh. "All right, but brother's so dramatic. You two are divorced, yet he leaves this diary behind, like he was desperate for you to know how much he loved you." Jiang Qingli did not answer. Instead, he slammed his silverware onto his plate with a sharp, echoing crash. He looked up, his eyes terrifyingly cold. "Ji Chenzhou, watch your tongue." Startled by the sudden fury, Ji Chenzhou forced a nervous smile. "Qingli, are you mad at me? I was just telling the truth. He is obviously using this cheap sob story to try and make you soft-hearted, to make you pity him." Jiang Qingli let out a bitter, cold laugh. "A sob story. When he was fighting for me, bleeding for me, and jumping into a freezing lake for me. Where on earth were you?" Ji Chenzhou turned white. He probably made it up. He is a master at acting victim. Enough. Jiang Qingli stood up so abruptly his chair shrieked against the floorboards. Looking down at Ji Chenzhou, his eyes were dead and icy. "Ji Chenzhou," he warned, his voice low and dangerous, "do not make me regret letting you move in here." With that, he turned on his heel and stormed out, leaving Ji Chenzhou frozen in place, pale with shock. Out in the garden, Jiang Qingli tried to catch his breath. For years he believed I was the villain tearing his relationship apart, while his supposed soulmate Ji Chenzhou had been ruthlessly tearing me down behind my back. He finally realized how blind he had been. Staring at the distant skyline, he whispered, "Where are you, Zhixun?" After that explosive breakfast, a painful thorn was planted deep in his heart. Ji Chenzhou's venomous slander of me made him question everything. The voices from the reunion echoed in his mind, making Ji Chenzhou's mocking words sound incredibly cheap and cruel. What right did Ji Chenzhou have to call my devotion a fake performance? Standing by his office window, Jiang Qingli slowly traced the rim of his coffee mug, his eyes dark and unreadable. After a long silence, he picked up his phone and dialed his assistant. His voice was freezing cold. "Investigate Ji Chenzhou. I want to know everything. Every single thing he has done over the years." 3 days later, a thick manila folder landed on his desk. The moment he flipped open the first page, his face darkened to absolute shadow. His worst fears were about to be confirmed. Ji Chenzhou was far more corrupt than he had ever guessed. The report detailed years of secret flings with wealthy socialites and evidence of him abusing Jiang Qingli's name to crush his own business rivals. But the absolute worst part was the timeline, which proved that every single rift between him and me had happened right after Ji Chenzhou entered the picture. Back in high school, we were just harmless rivals, but the moment Ji Chenzhou transferred to our school, my behavior toward him became sharp and defensive. During university, when he was hospitalized from that crash and I secretly saved his life, Ji Chenzhou had rushed to his bedside the moment he woke up, whispering, "Shen Zhixun does not care about you." He did not even bother to visit. And after we married, our fights only escalated. Looking back, nearly every single fight we had been triggered by Ji Chenzhou or some toxic, manipulative whisper from those around him. "Qingli, Chenzhou is crying. Can you go comfort him?" Or, "Qingli, your husband hates me so much he just screamed at me again." Qingli Shen Zhixun put laxatives in my coffee. How could he? Jiang Qingli clenched her fists, her knuckles turning white. She suddenly realized a devastating truth. She had been fooled by Ji Chenzhou for 10 whole years. If her disbelief toward Ji Chenzhou was already overwhelming, what happened next completely turned her feelings into pure disgust. Jiang Qingli's friend Tang Xin approached her with a deeply conflicted look. She handed over a USB drive. "Qingli, I ran into Ji Chenzhou at a bar. You need to hear this." After some noisy background chatter, the audio quieted down and a familiar voice played. It was Ji Chengzhou sounding tipsy. He was sitting in a VIP booth with his friends laughing shamelessly. Tang Xin had not meant to eavesdrop, but his loud bragging forced her to listen. What is Jiang Qingli to me? Just a pawn in my hand. Ji Chengzhou swirled his glass with a smug smirk. Seeing his friend's confusion, he laughed. You guys really think I love her? Come on. If she were not rich and powerful, who would play the devoted lover for so long? His friends roared with laughter. One asked, what about Shen Zhixun? Heard he is crazy about her. He scoffed with pure contempt. Shen Zhixun is even stupider, loving her so desperately. After all these years, did he not just run away like a coward? He downed his drink, his tone growing wilder. Remember the ancestral hall incident? That idiot Jiang Qingli believes anything. She thought Shen Zhixun bullied me, but I smashed the old man's memorial tablet first. That fool Shen Zhixun actually tried to protect it. And the result? Jiang Qingli whipped him 60 times with her own hands. Ha ha ha, Tang Xin's face paled. She recorded it and left. She called Jiang Qingli right away. Listening to the recording felt like a physical blow to Jiang Qingli, leaving her mind completely blank before a wave of fury washed over her. She gripped her phone, her eyes burning with rage. Word by word, her voice squeezed through her teeth. Ji Chengzhou. So that was the truth about the ancestral hall. The 60 whip marks on my back were all because of him. What angered her even more was how she became his accomplice. Jiang Qingli recalled the family banquet, remembering how I collapsed powerlessly in a pool of blood, stubbornly holding my head high with red eyes to explain that Ji Chengzhou started it. Yet she believed I staged it, denying me any explanation. She had personally destroyed my love for Hersher. Jiang Qingli stood up abruptly, sweeping a wine bottle to the floor with a loud crash. A sharp pain shot from her cut finger, but she was numb to it compared to her inner agony. That night, Jiang Qingli brought her bodyguard straight to the villa. The moment Ji Chengzhou opened his door, before he could even look surprised, a bodyguard grabbed his throat and slammed him against the wall. Her voice was ice cold. Her voice sounded like a demon from hell. Ji Chengzhou! He widened his eyes in sheer terror, his face flushing red from the lack of oxygen as the grip around his throat tightened mercilessly. His face began to turn purple. Qingli, what are you doing? Let me go. Jiang Qingli sneered, letting the bodyguard release him before playing the recording. Ji Chengzhou turned pale instantly. No, this is not true. Let me explain. Someone framed me. He frantically reached for her hand, but she shrugged him off with venom in her eyes. I was framed. Then what about this? She threw the investigation report in his face, papers scattering everywhere. Is this a frame-up too? Ji Chengzhou looked down. Reading the words, he collapsed to the floor in despair. It was all over. Jiang Qingli looked down at him in silence, then turned and walked away, her departure cold and absolute. Left behind, Ji Chengzhou trembled with fear and shock. The door slammed shut with a deafening crash. Ji Chengzhou shrank back, his eyes burning with terrifying hatred. Meanwhile, in Paris, it was a fresh morning. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, brightening the apartment. I sat on the sofa, holding a warm cup of coffee and exhaling a soft mist. Outside, the Seine River shimmered, and the Eiffel Tower appeared in the distance. Here, there was no Jiang Qingli, no Ji Chengzhou, and none of that suffocating past. There was only me. I took a sip of my coffee, a gentle smile touching my lips. So this is what freedom tasted like. By my 3rd month in Paris, I enrolled in an advanced course at a design school. My unique style, blending Eastern elegance with Western boldness, quickly caught my professor's attention. Looking at my drafts, my mentor's eyes filled with deep appreciation. Shen, your work is so full of life. This dress cut looks like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. I froze, then smiled softly. Yes, emerging from a cocoon. I had finally broken free from the cage named Jiang Qingli. Encouraged, I rented a small studio in Montmartre and launched my brand. Meeting Song Muxui was an unexpected twist. We met at an exhibition. He was Chinese-French, raised in France, his family running a premium fabric business while he was already a well-known designer. He stood at my booth for a long time, pointing to a dark red gown. What inspired this, I looked at it. It was my first piece in Paris, created during sleepless nights when I nearly drowned in past agony. But I turned that pain into fuel, creating this dress. Blood red, with a golden butterfly embroidered on the hem, ready to fly. Cocoon, I whispered. Song Muxu looked at me deeply and smiled, reaching out. I am Song Muxu. Nice to meet you, designer of Cocoon. Since then, he became a constant presence in my studio, sometimes bringing rare fabrics, other times just sitting quietly to watch me sketch. He never pried into my past or crossed any lines, slowly melting my guard with his gentle warmth. One evening, he looked up. Shen Zhixun next month is the International Fashion Week. My brand has a spot. Do you want to join me? I froze. It was a dream opportunity for any designer. Looking up, I saw only genuine appreciation and encouragement in his eyes. No pity, only absolute trust in my talent. My eyes grew hot as I nodded. Yes. From then on, I poured my soul into preparing. On the eve of the event, I went to the Champs-Élysées for accessories, only to run into a familiar face. He gasped, staring at me with wide eyes. I froze, then recognized him. It was Chung Feng, my high school classmate. He grabbed my shoulders excitedly. "Oh my God, it is you. What are you doing in Paris?" He looked me up and down amazed. "You look completely different." I smiled. "Yes, because I finally learned to love myself." He hugged me warmly. "That is so wonderful." I patted his back under the gentle Parisian sun. On the day of the show, my designs were the grand finale. Models walked the runway in my gowns, the deep red silk, flowing like liquid blood-golden butterflies, shimmering under the bright stage lights. Thunderous applause erupted. Song Mukshu stood beside me, whispering, "Look, they are captivated by you." My eyes welled with tears. I was no longer Jiang Qingli's shadow, nor Ji Chengzhou's joke. I was finally just myself, Shen Zhixun. A completely new person. Back home, Jiang Qingli stood by her window staring into the dark night. Ji Chengzhou pushed the door open, wearing a pleasing smile. "Qingli, why are the lights off?" Without turning, she merely hummed. Seeing her quiet reaction, Ji Chengzhou approached and reached for her hand, but she subtly slipped away. Retracting his hand, he asked tentatively, "Is work very busy lately?" Jiang Qingli finally turned around, a faint smile playing on her lips. "A little busy." She gently caressed his cheek, her voice light and tender. "Why did you miss me?" Ji Chengzhou was startled, then ecstatic. After their bitter fallout, she had not been this warm. He knew she could never leave him. He pulled her into his arms, speaking in a cloying tone. "Of course I did. You ignored me for days. I thought you were truly angry." Jiang Qingli looked down, her eyes freezing cold, but her voice was sweet. "How could I be? I was just preparing a big gift for you." Ji Chengzhou smiled, wrapping his arms around her waist as their long shadows tangled on the floor. A week later, the Ji family business plunged into a sudden financial crisis. Partners withdrew, bank loans were delayed without reason, and long-term suppliers abruptly stopped deliveries. Devastated and frantic, the Ji family begged for help, but hit walls everywhere. The chairman slammed the table at a board meeting, roaring, "Who on earth is targeting us?" Meanwhile, Jiang Qingli sat in her office reviewing the latest reports. The Ji family stock had plunged to an all-time low, with 3 subsidiaries facing bankruptcy. Her lips curled slightly, but her eyes remained cold. Good, but not enough. She dialed a number, her voice ruthless. "Keep pressing. I want them wiped out." Playing her had a heavy price. Ji Chengzhou finally realized something was terribly wrong. He called her countless times, only to get her secretary. When he rushed to her office, security blocked him. "Sorry, Mr. Ji, President Jiang refuses to see you." He panicked. Refuses to see him. Since when was he an outsider? He realized her sweet affection was just a trap to lower his guard. He frantically searched his contacts for help, but friends who once fawned over him now avoided him like the plague. Out of options, and desperate, Ji Chengzhou rushed to Jiang Qingli's villa, kneeling at the gate weeping. "Qingli, I was wrong. Please spare my family, I beg you." The heavy gate slowly opened. Jiang Qingli stood on the steps looking down at him. Her eyes were as cold as if looking at a dead man. Ji Chengzhou crawled forward, clutching her skirt hem in desperation. "Qingli, I really know I was wrong. I will never lie to you again. Please forgive me." Jiang Qingli knelt down, grabbing his chin to force his head up. "Ji Chengzhou," she whispered, "know what I regret most." He shook his head, trembling. Her cold smile sent shivers down his spine. "I regret not seeing your true face sooner." She released him and stood up, her voice ice cold. "You made me lose the only one who truly loved me. I will make you pay a terrible price." Ji Chengzhou collapsed, pale. "No, you can't do this. Qingli, I love you, I really do." Qingli turned and walked away, leaving behind a cold, parting remark. "Too bad your love is completely worthless." A month later, the Ji Group went bankrupt. His father was arrested for commercial fraud, and Ji Chengzhou sold off all his luxuries, but still could not repay his massive debts. Standing before his once grand mansion, watching court seals get slapped onto the gates, he finally fell to his knees broken. Meanwhile, Jiang Qingli stood by her floor-to-ceiling window, swirling a glass of whiskey, the amber liquid glinting coldly under the lights. Outside, the neon lights flickered, and traffic flowed like a river, but her world had lost all color. The Ji family was ruined, and Ji Chengzhou was disgraced, drowning in debt. The former wealthy heir was now a street rat everyone avoided. She should have felt vindicated. But why did her heart feel so empty? Why did she feel even emptier now? She threw back a large gulp of whiskey. It burned her throat, but couldn't warm the coldness spreading deep inside. Later, in the Jiang Group conference room, the executives stared at each other in dismay. At the head of the table, Jiang Qingli sat with messy hair and bloodshot eyes. She tossed the documents onto the desk and sneered, her voice raspy. "You are asking me about such trivial matters. What do I even pay you for?" The room went dead silent. No one dared to speak. This was her third explosive outburst this month. Ever since I left, she had become a completely different person, drinking, heavily losing her temper, and neglecting her work. The stock price was sliding, and shareholders were furious, but no one dared to confront her face-to-face and question her. Her assistant cautiously handed over a folder. "Director Jiang, this is last quarter's financial report. It needs your signature." Without even looking, she grabbed a pen, scribbled a messy signature, and snapped, "Get out." The assistant fled, as if granted a pardon, leaving the inside. The office, Jiang Qingli pulled open a drawer and took out a photo. It was our wedding picture. I was wearing a white suit, smiling brightly, while she looked cold, as if this marriage was her deepest shame. Looking back, she was the one who was truly ridiculous. Late at night, she drunkenly dialed a private investigator. "Did you find him?" The line went quiet. "Director Jiang, Mr. Shen's travel records were erased. We can't track him." She cursed useless trash. Jiang Qingli slammed her phone against the wall, shattering the screen. She stumbled to her feet, grabbed her car keys, and bolted out the door. My old apartment had been sitting empty. No one lived there, and no one dared to touch a thing. She opened the door, with a spare key greeted by a faint smell of dust. Everything inside was exactly the same. My everyday knit coat was still draped over the sofa, my unfinished design magazine lay on the coffee table, and on the kitchen hook hung my favorite apron. It felt as if I had just stepped out for a walk and would return at any moment. Her knees buckled and she sank to the floor. As alcohol and regret washed over her, her vision blurred. "Shen Zhixun, I was wrong," she sobbed. "Please come back." Only her echo answered in the empty apartment. At dawn, she woke up on the cold floor. Months of heavy drinking left her with a splitting headache, but her memory remained painfully sharp. She slowly stood up, taking one final look at this place so full of memories, and gently closed the door. She hoped that if she found me, and if I gave her another chance, she could spend her life making it up to me. But winter in Paris always came suddenly. Wrapping my wool coat tight, my breath fogged up the window, creating a frosty haze. The studio heater was still broken. Rubbing my freezing fingers, I kept sketching the drafts for my new collection. Ever since Fashion Week, my career had skyrocketed. Countless invitations and collaboration offers flew like wild birds into my studio, leaving me with barely any free time. Hunched over my design table, my pen scratching softly. The doorbell suddenly rang. Surprise! Song Mukshu stood at the doorway, light snow dusting the shoulders of her camel coat. She held 2 steaming cups of coffee, her nose a little pink from the cold. Tiny melted snowflakes clung to her eyelashes like scattered diamonds in the morning light. Handing me a cup, her fingertips lightly brushed my skin. I heard a certain designer stayed up all night again. Double caramel extra milk. I stared at the cup, stunned. It was a habit I kept since college, something even Jiang Qingli never remembered. Feeling the warmth in my palms, I noticed a crooked little butterfly sketched on the sleeve. I smiled. "Did you draw this?" She nodded. "Doesn't it look like one?" Leaning closer, she pointed. "See wings here and tenny there." She was so near, her scent of cedar and cold snow washed over me. I suddenly noticed a tiny mole on her right earlobe, hidden beneath her dark hair like a hidden star. "Shen Zhixun," she suddenly said, "your coffee is going to get cold." I quickly looked down and took a sip. When I looked up, she reached out and gently wiped the foam from my lip, her warm finger brushing away. Our eyes locked. Outside, the first snow of winter fell quietly. On the eve of Spring Fashion Week, a sudden storm hit. As I stood at the convention center entrance, worried, a black umbrella slipped over me from behind. Song Mukshui's right shoulder was already soaked. She sighed. "I knew you wouldn't bring an umbrella. Come on, my car is across the street." Rainwater streamed down the cobblestones. Walking carefully in her high heels, she suddenly lost her footing and fell right into my arms. "Watch out," I murmured, catching her waist with one arm while the umbrella swayed in the wind. Cold rain splashed against our touching sleeves. Through the damp fabric, I could clearly feel her warmth and the steady rhythm of her heartbeat. I wasn't sure whose heart skipped a beat. We both started to speak, then stopped at once. Finally, she smiled. "Want to count to 3 and say it together?" In the heavy rain, her eyes sparkled like wet obsidian. I suddenly thought of the design draft I edited yesterday. Inside the lining of that dress, I had secretly embroidered half of a golden butterfly wing, which I designed for her. "Let's go see the lavender fields when Fashion Week ends," she said, holding my sketches. I checked, and the blooming season in Provence starts next month. As the rain faded, a sliver of moonlight broke through the clouds. During Milan Fashion Week, the lights in my studio burned all night. Downing cups of iced coffee, I eventually ran a raging fever. Drifting off in my hotel room, I felt someone gently support my neck and pour warm medicine down my throat. "Moksu, what time is it?" Her voice was incredibly raspy. "It is 3 a.m. Did you know you have a 39-degree fever?" I forced my eyes open to see her in a crumpled dress, dark circles under her eyes. Fever patches and pillboxes littered the nightstand. "You haven't slept?" I asked in surprise. She gently wiped my sweat-drenched forehead and smiled. "A certain patient kicks off the blanket every half hour and refuses to let go of my arm, babbling on and on." I jolted awake, my heart racing. I was talking in my sleep. Did I say anything weird? Or blabbering? She suddenly leaned down close enough for me to count her eyelashes. Looking deep into my eyes, she whispered, "Shen Zhixun, I tested your theory. Cursing your ex really does break a fever. By the 7th time, you swore your temperature actually dropped 0.3 degrees. I burst out laughing, but my smile slowly faded. Song Maksui gently pulled me into a warm embrace, resting her chin on my shoulder. "Men are allowed to cry too," she whispered. "Let it out. I have plenty of dresses." Soon the sunshine in Provence was far more generous than Paris. Standing in the flower field, she watched local kids crowd around to teach me to weave wreaths. Being clumsy, I snapped several stems and resorted to bribing them with cash. The kids laughed hysterically. Turning around, I walked back to her. "What are you hiding, Mr. Designer?" she asked. "Close your eyes." The moment she did, she felt a light weight on her hair. "Open them." I pulled up the camera to show her. A crooked lavender wreath was nestled in her hair, looking like a silly little crown. "It is so ugly," she grumbled, reaching to take it off. I caught her wrist. "Wait." I pulled a bracelet from my pocket, letting it dangle in the breeze. Inside, a French line was engraved, meaning "My Spring." Song Mukshu nodded, letting me put it on. From afar, children's laughter drifted over the rolling waves of purple lavender. Now standing by my studio window, I held a gold-embossed invitation. It was from Uni, a top domestic jewelry brand, inviting me to be the art director for their new collection. Song Mukshu walked in carrying 2 cups of hot coffee. Seeing me lost in thought, she asked gently, still hesitating. I snapped out of my daze, my fingers brushing the edges of the card. "I thought I would never go back," I said. She handed me the coffee, its warmth seeping into my palms. Afraid of seeing her, I fell silent, then smiled and shook my head. "No. I'm just wondering what I'm actually afraid of." Outside, a maple leaf swirled in the wind, landing on the sill. At my desk, my gaze grew firm. I couldn't hide forever. When the plane touched down in that familiar city, I froze for a second. 3 years had passed. The airport silhouette was exactly the same, but my mind was completely different. The assistant greeted me warmly. "Welcome back, Mr. Shen. Director Meng wants you to rest at the hotel first. We'll talk details tomorrow." I nodded with a smile and followed him to the parking lot. Looking out the window, the streets flashed by. Familiar signs flickered between the high-rises. This city once held all my love and hate, but now it was just a closed book that couldn't stir a single wave. When Jiang Qingli learned I was back, she was in a meeting. Her assistant rushed into the room and whispered in her ear. Her eyes went wide and her pen clattered onto the papers. "Are you sure it is him?" The assistant nodded. "Yes." Uni's welcoming car was parked right outside our building. A lot of people saw him. Jiang Qingli bolted upright. The conference room fell dead silent. Meeting adjourned, she snapped, rushing out the door. Her car sped through the city, finally screeching to a halt right outside the Uni Group building. As she opened her door, she saw a familiar figure step through the revolving doors. I wore a sleek white suit that highlighted my broad shoulders and tall, lean frame. I looked so calm, so radiant. Her breath caught. As she stepped forward, a figure suddenly blocked her path. Their eyes clashed in the air, sparks flying. "Get out of the way!" Jiang Qingli demanded, her voice freezing. Song Muksue didn't budge. "He doesn't want to see you." Jiang Qingli's fists clenched tight, her eyes bloodshot. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Song Mukshu sneered. "What does that make you? You hurt him so deeply. What right do you have to be here?" The words stabbed like a knife into Jiang Qingli's heart, leaving her speechless. From a distance, I seemed to sense something. I turned my head. Jiang Qingli froze, holding her breath. But a second later, my gaze calmly drifted away, treating her like an absolute stranger. I got into the car. The black sedan slowly rolled away, leaving her standing there. Her blood ran cold. I did not even want to hate her anymore. Song Muksu's voice snapped her back to reality. "If you have any conscience left, stop bothering him." With bloodshot eyes, she snapped back. "Who do you think you are? His new girlfriend." Muksue replied calmly. "It doesn't matter. What matters is that he is doing great now. Without you, he finally learned to love himself." Night fell, and Jiang Qingli stood alone under my old apartment. She stared up at the 3rd-floor window. It was pitch black. No light would ever burn for her again. Sliding down the wall, she whispered my name into the cold night wind. 3 days later, she stood in a hotel lobby corner, her knuckles white. She had been desperately searching and tracking my schedule. She finally found out I was attending a private dinner tonight. She did not know why she came. Maybe she was bitter, or maybe she just could not stand me vanishing from her life completely. The elevator doors opened and I stepped out holding Song Muksu's hand. I wore a dark suit, my diamond brooch, catching the light, a faint smile on my lips. I looked distant and out of reach. Her heart ached terribly. Taking a deep breath, she rushed toward me. My steps faltered. I turned my eyes, landing on her face. Surprise flashed in my mind before I regained my composure. I nodded slightly and greeted her coldly, like a mere business associate. Her throat tightened as she instinctively took a step forward. She reached out her hand. Muksu frowned, instinctively stepping between us. But I gently patted her hand. Muksu, go wait in the car first, okay? She hesitated, but seeing the quiet resolve in my eyes, she finally nodded and walked away. Only the two of us remained in the lobby. An unbearable silence stretched between us. Her voice was terribly raspy. Zhixun, I need to talk to you. I stared at her, my eyes as still as deep water. Go ahead, Jiang Qingli. Her fingertips trembled. She had imagined this reunion 1,000 times, but facing me now, she was lost for words. Finally, a choked sob escaped her lips. I am sorry. The ancestral hall, the birthday, the divorce. I am sorry for everything. I am so sorry for it all. Her knees slammed hard onto the marble floor. Please forgive me. The crowd instantly fell silent, and everyone stared. The high and mighty president of the Jiang group was kneeling before me, looking completely pathetic. I looked down at her without a shred of emotion. Jiang Qingli, some things cannot be undone just because you regret them. She looked up with bloodshot eyes, her voice trembling as she clung to a final shred of hope. Are we truly over? I looked at her and suddenly smiled. It was a faint smile, but it cut her to the bone. She could not find a single trace of warmth in my eyes. You are not in my future anymore. I turned, but she grabbed my wrist. She begged desperately, Zhixun, give me one more chance, just once. I stopped. I did not pull away or turn around. You know, I used to think that if I loved you enough, you would look back. But I finally realized love does not work that way. I slowly pulled my hand away. Jiang Qingli remained kneeling on the cold floor, watching my figure fade into the distance. She could still feel the lingering warmth of my wrist on her fingertips, but inside she was completely frozen. Outside, Muksu and I got into the car. As I sat down, a dry leaf drifted onto the window. Back in the lobby, Jiang Qingli remembered many years ago when I was still a mischievous boy, secretly stuffing a sandwich into her desk. When she caught me, I had blushed and stammered, Who cares about you? I just do not want you starving. If only time could turn back, and if only she had realized her heart sooner. But there are no do-overs. The black sedan slowly drove off, vanishing into the dark night. On a rainy autumn night, Ji Cheng-jo huddled on a cheap motel bed, his haggard face lit by his phone. News alerts popped up one after another. The G Group had officially declared bankruptcy. Debts ran into billions. His stepfather was arrested for fraud, facing over 10 years in prison. He slammed his phone against the wall, the shattering screen loud in the silence. Clutching his knees, he wept, his expensive silk pajamas wrinkled and ruined. The $1 million diamond watch once on his wrist was long gone. 3 months ago, he was a wealthy young heir envied by everyone. Now he could barely afford this motel room. The next morning, he stood before a mirror, carefully hiding his exhaustion. He had to look good to see Jiang Qingli. She used to be completely submissive, spending fortunes on his every whim. If he could just soften her heart, he could recover. He threw on his only decent trench coat, desperate for a second chance. Hoping to turn his life around, he arrived at the Jiang Group headquarters. The guard frowned, blocking his path. Mr. G, President Jiang ordered us not to let you in. Ji Cheng-jo forced a smile. Tell her I have crucial news. It is about Shen Zhixun. The guard hesitated before dialing the intercom. 5 minutes later, Ji Cheng-jo was escorted to the penthouse office. Jiang Qingli stood by the window, cold and distant. She did not even turn around when the door opened. Ji Cheng-jo choked up immediately. Qingli, I was wrong. I am so sorry. He lunged to grab her arm, but she coldly stepped aside. What do you have on Zhixun? She demanded, her voice freezing. He collapsed onto the floor, looking up helplessly. None of that was my fault. I was forced. Qingli, believe me, I have always loved only you. Jiang Qingli finally turned around, looking down at him. Her gaze sent chills through him. There was no warmth left, only disgust. She sneered. Ji Cheng-jo, you look absolutely pathetic right now. It is disgusting. He shook his head wildly. No, it is Shen Zhixun. He slandered me. Qingli, have you forgotten our past? Jiang Qingli suddenly lunged and grabbed his jaw. Shut up. You are not worthy of speaking his name. She grabbed a stack of photos from her drawer and slammed them into his face. They scattered across the floor, revealing years of his affairs with different women. Her disgusted gaze pierced him. He trembled under her heavy stare. Did they force you to do this too? After that night, Ji Chengzhou spiraled into a dark abyss. With absolutely nowhere left to turn, he walked into a shady underground bar. Meanwhile, inside the Jiang Group boardroom, a heavy silence reigned. The shareholders looked grim. President Jiang, we lost 3.7 billion last quarter. If this continues. Before he could finish, she cut him off. Then, let us file for bankruptcy. She leaned back, staring blankly at the ceiling with complete indifference, as if discussing someone else's company. The room erupted instantly. Are you insane? This is your grandfather's life work. You are throwing it away for a man. Jiang Qingli rose slowly. Her suit hung loosely on her thin frame, a shadow of her former self. Without a word, she walked out. Behind her, tech-ups shattered on the floor amid furious shouts, but she heard none of it. Her entire world was dead silent. Late at night, she drove to the riverbank, the windows down as freezing wind whipped her hair. On the passenger seat lay a folder containing clippings of all my recent jewelry design work. From Paris Fashion Week to local jewelry shows, she had collected everything. Her trembling fingers traced the photos. In every picture, I smiled brightly. I was thriving without her. She pulled out her phone, opening my social media page. My latest post from 3 days ago read, "My new collection, Rebirth, is launching soon. Thanks to everyone who loves me." It featured a photo of Muxu and me holding hands by the Seine River. Jiang Qingli's eyes blurred. As tears filled her eyes, she slammed on the gas pedal. The speedometer climbed rapidly. The sparkling river looked exactly like the diamonds on a wedding gown. Letting go of the wheel, she whispered my name, Shen Zhixun in the next life. The car crashed through the guardrail and plunged into the freezing water. Breaking news. Early this morning, a black sedan plunged into the river. Recovery efforts are underway. License records indicate the owner is likely Jiang Group President Jiang Qingli. Across the city, Ji Chengzhou stared at the news in his dark basement. Suddenly, he burst into a manic laugh. Dead. She is actually dead. Ha ha ha. He laughed until tears streamed down. On his table sat a sharp knife he never used. He had not even got the chance to kill her himself, but it did not matter. She was in hell anyway. Chugging from a bottle, he began coughing violently. Meanwhile, Detective Captain Xian stared at the crash report, frowning at the brake lines. The cut on the line is clean. It was intentionally severed. The coroner noted, pointing at the photos. This was murder, not an accident. Security footage quickly identified the suspect. 3 days prior, Ji Chengzhou was spotted in her private garage. He had lingered near her car with a toolbox. When police stormed his dark basement, he was cackling at the financial news on TV. The screen broadcasted the liquidation of the bankrupt Jiang Group. Waving a pair of scissors, he looked insane. You are just in time. Look, I shredded Mr. Shen's wedding photos. Clippings of my magazine covers littered his bed, each photo stabbed full of holes. In court, he wore an orange jumpsuit, brake fluid still staining his fingernails. He smirked. I wanted to end her myself, but she died too fast. As the judge read the verdict, the gallery was completely empty. The relatives who once flattered the Zhangs and the socialites who chased him had all vanished. The gavel struck. Suddenly he lunged at the railing, screaming, "Where is Shen Zhixun? Let him come laugh at me." Only the cold handcuffs of the officers answered him. In the morgue, the freezer hummed as the staff made another call. They dialed the Jiang mansion again. A distant relative answered coldly, "Do whatever you want. She is no longer family." The claim notice was sent to my Paris address, but Muxu returned it unopened. On the final rainy deadline, she was cremated. An intern pushes a gurney down the long hallway, a pale wrist peeking out from under the white sheet. So tragic the intern sighs to the cremator. I heard he used to be a powerful mogul. Pressing the button, the operator replies, "No matter how powerful, everyone burns down to the same ashes." The eco-cemetery sits along a winding suburban mountain road. The staff mixes the ashes with dandelion seeds, letting them drift into the valley on the breeze. 3 months later, at Paris Fashion Week, my new collection Nirvana closes the show. The model glides down the runway in a fiery red gown, a stunning embroidered phoenix spreading its wings at the hem. As the crowd erupts into a standing ovation, Muxu pins a brooch on my lapel backstage. "It is half of a golden butterfly wing. I have the other half," she whispers. Together it feels like a whole lifetime. Along the Seine, the plane trees sprout fresh green buds. Sunlight filters through the canopy, casting dappled shadows across the cobblestones. I stand on my studio terrace, cradling a warm cup of tea, staring at the shimmering river. Familiar footsteps approach behind me. "What are you thinking about?" Muxu asks, stepping up beside me, her voice as gentle as a spring breeze. I turn to look at her. "Just thinking about our first meeting when you asked about the inspiration for that red dress? Muxia raises an eyebrow. Breaking the cocoon, I nod, looking out at the distant Eiffel Tower. Yeah, looking back, maybe even then you... Before I can finish, Muxu suddenly pulls out an elegant velvet box. A diamond ring sparkles in her palm. Zhixun, I'm not good at sweet talk, but I want to spend the rest of my life proving that every second of your future deserves to be treated with tenderness. As the breeze stirs her hair, the ring catches the light, reflecting a brilliant glow. It turns out true happiness never needs to be earth-shattering. It just takes the right person and a sincere heart. I reach out my hand to her. Yes. Our wedding is held on the heights of Montmartre. No lavish spectacle, just our closest friends and family. Muxia wears a gown I designed its skirt embroidered with golden butterflies that seem to flutter in the warm sunlight. I stand beneath the plane trees as a fresh green leaf lands on my shoulder. During the ring exchange, Muxiu's hand trembles so much she nearly drops the band. The guests chuckle warmly, but I pull her close and kiss her lips. Don't be nervous, Miss Song. We have a long lifetime ahead. You can take your time getting used to it. A falling leaf lands perfectly on our marriage certificate like destiny's stamp, validating our brand new life. One late night at work, I drift off at my drafting table. When I wake, I find myself covered with a blanket Muxiu wrapped around me. She is sitting across from me reviewing a contract. Hearing me stir, she looks up, her eyes curving into a warm smile. Awake, she whispers. Let's go home. I rub my eyes and suddenly start sketching rapidly on the draft. Moments later, a woman's gown design comes to life on the paper, featuring a uniquely embroidered half butterfly at the collar. I smile and slide the sketch over. Your birthday gift. The other half is on my runway suit tomorrow. Gazing at Muxui, I walk around the desk and scoop her up, spinning her around amidst the scattered sketches. She leans against my chest, laughing softly. My big designer, is this your way of claiming ownership to all of Paris? Outside, the gentle sound of an accordion drifts from a ferry on the Seine. This pure contentment is enough to erase all the pain of my past.